Well, good morning and welcome to our time together in God's Word. It is Monday, the 20th of April, and it is another beautifully sunny lockdown day. Well, I'm sure you've noticed this, but in our Sunday worship over the past 2 weeks, we have been able to bring you some worship music along with the Bible readings, the prayer, and the preaching. Now, by the way, incidentally, if you're not involved in this and you would like to be, please do drop me a line and I can arrange for the instructions to be sent out. And you too could be recording your music and appearing on the video each Sunday morning. But it has been lovely, hasn't it, to sing praise to God even in the challenging times that we find ourselves in. Now, if you've been watching TV over the weekend, you will have seen that it wasn't only Christians who sought out music and singing to provide hope and encouragement in this dark situation. No, there was this amazing virtual concert featuring some of the biggest stars in entertainment and music. Prompted by an idea from Lady Gaga, Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Taylor Swift, Mick Jagger, J-Lo, Paul McCartney and others all got together to record some uplifting music. And this whole event was designed to encourage those fighting COVID-19, and the UN Secretary General praised the effort that took place by saying this. He said, "Tonight, through the universal language of music, we salute the bravery and sacrifice of healthcare workers and others." Friends, music does express the joys and sorrows of the human condition, doesn't it? And when we open up our Bibles, particularly in the Psalms, we find the full gambit of feeling expressed in prayer, praise, and lament. Now, I'm going to read and make comment on Psalm 27 this morning, in which David reveals the heart of one who is dealing with troubles and yet who is relying upon God like many of us are. Now, I would recommend that you track along, so if you've not got a Bible, then let me invite you to hit pause for just a moment, go and pick one up, get it in front of you. It will help you to no end as we go through this psalm together. So David writes this: "The Lord is my light and my salvation, so why should I be afraid? The Lord is my fortress, protecting me from danger, so why should I tremble? When evil people come to devour me, when my enemies and foes attack me, they will stumble and fall. Though a mighty army surrounds me, my heart will not be afraid. Even when I am attacked, I will remain confident. The one thing I ask of the Lord, the thing I seek most, is to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, delighting in the Lord's perfections and meditating in his temple. For he will conceal me there when trouble comes. He will hide me in his sanctuary. He will place me out of reach on a high rock. Then I will hold my head high above my enemies who surround me. At his sanctuary I will offer sacrifices with shouts of joy, singing and praising the Lord with music. Hear me as I pray, O Lord. Be merciful and answer me. My heart has heard you say, 'Come and talk with me.' And my heart responds, 'Lord, I am coming.' Do not turn your back on me. Do not reject your servant in anger. You have always been my helper. Don't leave me now. Don't abandon me, O God of my salvation. Even if my father and mother abandon me, the Lord will hold me close. Teach me how to live, O Lord. Lead me along the right path, for my enemies are waiting for me. Don't let me fall into their hands, for they accuse me of things I've never done. With every breath they threaten me with violence. Yet I am confident I will see the Lord's goodness while I am here in the land of the living. Wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord." Now this psalm is very, very rich in teaching, but I'd like us just to tease out a few short points. Firstly, in verse 1, we discover that David knows something that we are all very, very aware of, and it is this: light casts out fear. The Lord is my light and salvation, he says, so why should I be afraid? Now, a commentator notes here that although God is often associated with light, this verse is the only direct application of the name light to God in the whole Old Testament. But it makes sense though, doesn't it? Darkness is scary, it's foreboding. There are unknown pitfalls and dangers that could be hidden from sight in darkness. But in God, there is clarity. There is no need to fear. God's presence brought light into David's life. He doesn't despair in darkness and all that it represented. No, his life was filled with the Lord, and his life was filled with light. Now, the second point of note is that David's great desire, look at this, his life goal was to be close to this God of light. He wanted to live in the presence of God. In verses 4 to 6, David ransacks the Hebrew language, some commentators say, for nouns to describe the place of God's presence. Look at this. The house of the Lord, verse 4. His temple, verse 4. His dwelling, verse 5. His tabernacle, or maybe his sanctuary, verses 5 to 6. Now there's a challenge here, isn't there? Is our goal God? Is our goal a desire for closeness with God? So why is it that David expresses this thought, and why does he cling to God so tightly? Well, perhaps the answer to this might be found in verse 10. David knew that God's love and care goes beyond even the closest human bonds. Verse 10, he says, even if my father and mother abandon me, the Lord will hold me close. Now, I guess you've heard stories in which a mother maybe takes her newborn baby, and for heart-wrenching reasons she lays that child at the gate of an orphanage or a covenant or a convent or a church. Now often this occurs because the parent perceives herself to be ill-equipped to care for the child, so she abandons it to others who she hopes can manage better than she. But David knows that God is not like that. He is ultimately caring and capable. He never abandons or forsakes his beloved children. David knew this in his own life, and today, of all days and of all times, we should lay hold of this same promise of God to never forsake or to leave us. Now, the last point that we can draw out from David's crisis crooning, as it were, is found in verse 11 through to 14. In verse 14, David says, wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. But if we glance back at verse 11, we find David pleading with the Lord to teach him as he waits. You see, waiting in the Lord is not a passive sitting around. Folks, during lockdown, we've got a lot of time to wait, don't we? I wonder, can we wait in the way of David? Can we wait in that way that is pleading that God would instruct us and mature us in the faith? It's easy to kind of wither away this time. I know it's very, very easy to get despondent even as we wait on God. But perhaps we ought to pray that lockdown becomes a blessing rather than a curse. A time to live in God's light which dispels fear, a time to pursue closeness with the God who will never leave us, and a time to make good use of the waiting room that we find ourselves in. St. Spurgeon wrote this. He said, wait at his door with prayer, wait at his foot with humility, wait at his table with service, wait at his window with expectancy. As David says, wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord.